Does your normal game start out with confusion, last-second decisions, and pure chaos? I'm going to give you 3 tips and 5 basic strategies to help improve your odds of winning, and that's coming at you right now. Hello, and welcome to the second episode of my PUBG Academy series. If this is your first time to my channel, and you're interested in improving your gameplay, optimizing your game performance, or love to watch funny game clips, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. In this episode, we are talking about communication, and how that boils down to affecting your overall win rate in PUBG. Alright, so what does it take to have effective communication, and why is that important to PUBG? Most people probably assume when anyone is talking about communication, they mean verbal communication. However, this is only one aspect to it. The relevant aspects of communication to PUBG are verbal and visual. Verbal in the form of team voice chat such as Discord or TeamSpeak, and visual in the form of map markers, the compass display, and the mini-map player icons. Tip number 1. Use short and concise verbal communication during very task-heavy situations such as parachuting in or firefights. This allows you and your team to focus more on the immediate tasks required, such as engaging an enemy or redirecting to a new landing zone. Let me give you an example of bad communication.
Everyone look out, there's a guy on the hill looking this way and I think he sees us.
My desired outcome in this situation is to notify my team that there is a potential threat in front of us, hoping they can take cover and remain concealed or be prepared to return fire. Now for a more short and concise version.
Contact front.
The same basic information was conveyed, using 2 words instead of 17. For shortened communication to be effective, everyone in the party must be on the same page in order to reduce the amount of verbal clutter required to achieve the desired outcome. Another way to reduce the amount of verbal communication required is to properly use visual communication. There are 2 main ways to use visual communication in PUBG. The first and primary form of visual communication is map markers. Map markers can be used in a variety of ways, such as marking enemy locations, making it easier for your team to identify which building or obstacle an enemy is hiding in or behind. Additionally, map markers can be used as waypoints for travel, or primary and alternate locations for rendezvous. Through the use of map markers, it's possible to reduce the verbal clutter of having to reroute as you're coming in to land at your desired location, from something like,
"There's a whole team there, we need to go somewhere else. To my left there's a compound of 3 houses, go there."
"Which 3 houses? I don't see any to my left."
"They're to your right, my left."
to something much easier and quicker to understand, such as,
"Go yellow, go yellow."
It's important to repeat commands such as go yellow to ensure everyone heard you clearly. This brings us to tip number 2. Have a general strategy before entering the plane. Now by general, I don't mean,
"Okay, we're going to jump from the plane and land on the ground."
a general strategy is generic enough that it can be applied no matter the heading of the plane. However, it's still specific enough that guiding details can be ascertained without the use of verbal communication. I have put together a few of the more common strategies that I have seen used by other players, my friends, and streamers. Before we break down some general strategies, let me know down in the comments what your go-to strategy is, or if you kinda just wing it. While I don't personally recommend all these strategies, it's important to know what other players around you might be trying to achieve early game. Strategy number 1, the dive and drive. This strategy works with any game mode. The purpose is to increase your loot quality, reduce your risk, and nullify the concerns of the impending circle decrease due to having a vehicle. To execute this strategy, jump as soon as possible and aim for the nearest vehicle spawn. Obtain a vehicle and drive away from the flight path to a high quality loot location. I will leave a link to a map of all high quality loot locations and vehicle spawns down in the description. Due to a recent update to vehicle spawns, this strategy is not as viable as it once was, but is still used situationally by players. Strategy number 2, the warm-up game. This strategy works with any game mode, and its main purpose is to improve your combat skills. Additionally, this strategy helps you get warm. You don't want to get 20 minutes into a match and then lose the first firefight you get into. To execute this strategy, dive into a high quality or popular loot zone that is directly underneath the flight path. While this strategy will tank your KD and win rating, the experience and muscle memory will ultimately result in getting you more kills per game and winning crucial firefights. Additionally, you can mix up the game mode, such as solo queuing for duo or squad matches, just to stack the odds against you, so that way you can learn how to kill entire teams. Strategy number 3, fuck cardio. This strategy works with any game mode. The purpose is to reduce the movement required in most scenarios. This will ultimately reduce your chances of getting killed by the circle or trying to rush to get into the circle later. To execute this strategy, pick landing zones in the center area of the island. To help you in making your decisions on where to land, I made a graphic highlighting the most common areas of the initial circle based on a random selection of 100 of my games. As you can see, there's a very common trend showing that the center of the main island is about your safest bet for a landing zone to be inside the initial circle. This results in more loot time, less running from the circle, which all adds up to an increased chance of winning. I will add a link to download that graphic in the description. Strategy number 4. The max range and loot. This strategy works with any game modes, but is highly recommended for squad games. The purpose of this strategy is to reduce the cluster effect of being directly under the flight path, reduce the risk of early game enemy contact, and to get your squad fully geared as efficiently as possible. To execute this strategy, determine the flight path. What I like to do is align my camera angle with the tip of the plane's tail and the antenna on the front of the center of the plane. I then open my map, and because the map shows the direction of my character, I can gauge the heading of the plane. Next, pick a large loot area, 1 3/4 to 2 blocks away from the estimated flight path. Once you jump, open midway through the free fall and feather your shootout. Strategy number 5. The minimum risk and minimum loot. This strategy works for solos and duos. The purpose of this strategy is to greatly reduce the risk of early game enemy contact. To execute this strategy, pick a small area 1 to 1.5 grid squares off the flight path that is a small loot area, approximately 2 to 3 buildings. As you probably already noticed, the purpose of the strategy is fairly similar to the previous, which is centered around not dying early. Additionally, this strategy offers more efficient use of your time, as you're not opening your shoot early, giving you more time to loot and move before the circle begins to shrink. It's essential to know your basic strategy before you're loaded into the plane. Once the plane starts moving, you're now on a timer until it automatically spits you out with all the AFK players at the edge of the map. So now that you have some basic strategies to build on, let's get to that last and final tip. Tip number 3. Make a plan, and then make a backup plan. Once you're in the plane and you've decided which strategy you're going to use based on your group size and intended playstyle, it's time to mark some landing zones on the map. Notice that I said zones with an S in there. That's right, you're going to mark more than one, and then you're going to communicate which one you're initially shooting for. It's ideal to mark a primary and a secondary landing zone, and if you're in a squad game, a tertiary in the form of a zone of opportunity. For example, I will call out,
Blue is primary, green is secondary, red is opportunity.
then as we jump,
Going to blue.
just to help reinforce the idea to everyone again. Your secondary and tertiary marking should be within reasonable flight distance from the initial zone, and then stick to the plan and communicate in a clear and concise manner. If your first landing zone is no good, call it out.
Go green, go green.
If you're on your way to the primary and notice there are no parachutes over your landing zone of opportunity, call it out.
Go red, go red.
Sticking to the plan and communicating will help keep your squad close together, increasing your odds of winning as a group. Once your team gets split up, your likelihood of success drops significantly, as any team firefight will now be an uneven matchup. In a best case, 3-on-4, and a worst case, 1-on-4, with no hopes of being revived. To review, communication is the key to success. Use short and concise verbal communication, have a general strategy picked before taking off, and have a plan and a backup plan. In episode 3, I will cover the next phase of gameplay, flying and landing. This will encompass how to most efficiently get to your chosen landing zone, and how to pick the best place to land in the zone. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this video and found it helpful, please give me a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If you haven't done so already, smash that subscribe button, and I will see you next time.